Hello and welcome everyone. I welcome you all.
Okay, so shall we begin?
Right, so I think this is your first class of geography.
So, what is reminder theorem?
So the RBI comes with a bulletin.
For example, citizens also and non-citizens also. So it is clear now. So abolition of
what is a society made up of?
Just do this exam, better your life is settled.
Getting my point? So the characteristic, as you can see here, agriculture was there.
And atmosphere is made up of what? Can say it is made up of gaseous.
And the loans will be credited to your account. Wherever you want, you can swipe this card.
AX plus 1 divided by A. Here 33 by 8. 33 is 32 plus 1.
It went from fact-based to substantive knowledge, which means you can only answer the question if you have understood the topic.
Was it mixed? Was it socialist? Was it communist? Was it capitalist?
Excluding food and excluding energy. Core inflation does not include.
Paper is not going to matter. Okay? Some people have the assumption, fill the paper. Okay, your colleges pay, schools pay, it might have worked, but it doesn't work here because we have clear mandate as to for what, how many marks are we supposed to give. That is how we evaluate the paper. Understanding? So just for 1 point, if you have written an entire 10-mark question and expect 8 or 10 marks, it's not gonna happen. That is first thing you have to be able to do. Second thing, as and when we start going, topics when they're going to give, okay, now be it in prelims or mains, the questions will appear like you know that question very well, because that's how they're going to frame it. You're going to take a question on preamble only, but this is the only word it'll appear like you know in that question, no other word you know. That is where your understanding plays a huge role. We can fill up facts on this question, but if they haven't asked that part itself, you cannot expect these marks. See, I told you 8 marks, they've clearly segregated for what am I supposed to give what marks. Because you don't have any content, if you start filling up the page with anything and everything you know with preamble, you cannot expect any marks. Is that clear? To understand that better, we'll start the topic, more you will get to know. Okay? History was done to you, right? As in your NCERT. What main subject advanced classes have started? Society. Economics, geography, society. Okay. History? What was done in your history class? Introduction? Okay. Still, I'll just try to give you a brief overview. Try to catch up with me. Another thing about your paper. Okay. History pay, you draw maps. At least to point out some, ancient silk routes, sea routes. Geography, you have to draw maps. Polity, you cannot keep drawing maps. You can't draw an entire world map in your paper and waste time because you have only 8 minutes of time. This is another foolproof method. Just see how it goes on. I've did this already in your basic class, but again, whether you remember it or not, let's not delve into that bit. So we'll just take a break. 14th century, until 12th century, history, Europe had something like dark ages. There were a lot of diseases, people were dying, populations were happening in this portion. This portion, even if a small miniature place of even Britain, England happens, it spreads throughout of Europe. Anything happens anywhere in minuscule quantity, that is minute quantity of any place in Europe, it spreads around because they are very close packed countries. By close packed countries, I mean, see, we have this concept of state, right? The so-called concept of city or state. We say the very first concept of city, at least according to the history sources, right? The very first concept of city-state first emerged in the Greek city of Athens. Okay, so somewhere they have been the first step takers towards the concept of civilization. All this history that we read about is from your Western perspective. Okay, from Indian perspective, you start seeing it's like, no, we started it way before that. That comes your Indus Valley civilization and all those things. But whatever we're seeing now is from your Western perspective, is because that is the books, that is the history we have. We have lost our history books, records. They themselves had tore it and thrown it and lit it on fire. Another take it off. So the concept of city-state first emerged in the modern world. Okay, by modern world, we compare it somewhere from your 14th century onwards. See, in your history itself, you have ancient, medieval, modern, right? Now, when we break it up century-wise, okay, somewhere from 14th century, we still, India breakup of history, still it's in medieval only. Somewhere of 17th century, we start calling it as a modern. Ancient, medieval, modern. If this transition has to happen, okay, and present days, contemporary. If a transition has to happen, you do not snap a finger and tell, yes, I have changed. Okay. If something of a very large, alarming ratio of things happen, the society changes very alarmingly, then we move or we skip. That is from ancient to medieval, from medieval to modern. Before we came to ancient, we had something called as Ice Age. Okay, and we also had something like Paleolithic, Mesolithic, Neolithic, all history they'll cover, Chalcolithic. Okay, then starts the concept of your kingdom, Magadha Empire, all those things will start. We had to come from somewhere, that is from Ice Age, we came to something called as ancient, right? So there are significant changes. Ice Age, we just call them Homo sapiens. We don't even still call them completely human beings. From that stage, we are progressing to ancient means there is a lot of changes, right? So similarly, from ancient to medieval, there had to be a lot of changes. One thing you have to look from medieval point is, that is, I'm talking somewhere around your period of 14th century, right? Our version of modern history or India, if we talk about, it is 17th century onwards. See, these things are not there in any of the books, but this will help you with your interview and means extremely high ratio. When they ask you a question, when you don't have the background, they say you have half-baked knowledge. Understanding? So now whatever seems like you've understood, you better jot it down. All right? So the transition, that is the period of 14th century, medieval. Okay, medieval India was filled with your concept of slave dynasty, entry of Mughals into India. So still, when the world, here I told you 14th century, when they were moving towards Renaissance, we were moving towards setting up or entry of your Mughals. Okay, that itself will last another 200 years. All right. So when the world started the concept, by the world here, the majority chunk we will speak about is Europe. When it started with Renaissance, the same period, we were still in the concept of setting up the centralized kingdom. Understanding? So centralized kingdom is now to begin in India. At the same time, Renaissance was to begin in Europe. Clear up until here? Renaissance means nothing. Everything that existed, now they will look everything in a bright new light. That is, they build the, even see, India had this concept. If you cross the sea, you will lose your caste. They had this concept. If you lost the sea, you will fall down. Because they felt earth was flat. That is the period of time when they came up with inventions such as no, earth is spherical. No, earth is not at the center, rather sun is at the center. Okay, the concept of a telescope was developed at this period of time. So new scientific inventions started with the concept of navigation or shipbuilding. As in when, see, whenever any kind of renaissance or new things start to increase, it also increases people's economy. This comes to your current affairs question. Why do we need R&D, research and development? Why is it very important for us? Because whenever there is progress, okay, usually it accompanies with income generation. I'm not telling for everyone, at least for, certain sections, it generates income. Similarly, here it increases the economy. I told you once it starts somewhere, it spreads around Italy, Portugal, Spain, okay, all of the countries. Once the economy increases, the luxury automatically increases. If your monthly salary is, let's say, 30,000, you plan your life around it. If your monthly, let's say you need a vehicle for transportation, whatever comes within your budget of 30K, you will plan for that kind of car. Let's say your monthly income increased to 3 crore. Do you still think you would have bought the car that you would have planned when you had 30,000 salary? No. Lifestyle, economy increases, luxury increases. At that point of time, for them, luxury needs, see, again, it's a simple concept. If it's present right next to you, it's no longer luxury because it's easily available. At that point of time, this was considered as a very land of riches because they had things from here to here if it has to be bought. Just the transportation, or in your terms, just the shipping cost itself was astronomical. Okay, so products coming from here to here was in a very enormous price, which made it very luxury. Now the entire world was focused on going to India. So if they wanted goods of India, they needed money to go up and down trip. For that, they started slave trade in Africa. Okay. So once they started doing slave trade, in simpler terms, they took people from here, sold them here in America, okay, where they could get money, come back, use that money, come to India, do these things. Okay. This started in the period of 1600s, entry of your British. Okay, exact 1600. Now what happened? Initially they came as traders. Well and good, fine. As and when time progressed, by the period of 1773, that is the first regulating act. Your polity has acts. Okay, now whatever we spoke about, 1773 Regulating Act, 1784 Pitt's India Act, 1813 Charter Act, 1833 Charter Act, 1909 Minto-Morley Act, 1919 Montague-Chelmsford Reform. So multiple acts like this will come, that will be covered in your history in detail. Okay, because you need background. So basically, I'm telling. For the first time, the British England passed an act. Now, for those of you who don't know, you all know there is something called Lok Sabha, yes, Rajya Sabha, President. Tomorrow, if I am going to decide that everyone throughout the country, just simple example I'm telling, has to, for example, pay a new tax. No, let's not go with taxes. That's a very complex. Alright. Let's say tomorrow onwards, starting tomorrow, everyone in the country is supposed to wear a particular type of clothing. Same, like a uniform. For that, these people bring an idea. Someone comes up with this idea. Now, whatever idea, what is the idea? Everyone will wear a common uniform. This idea, when it is introduced either in Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha, let's here consider Lok Sabha. When this idea is introduced in any one of the houses, it is called a bill. You have to write this down because in advanced classes, we will just use bill and act. We will not explain what that is. As I'm explaining it here. When an idea is introduced in any one of the houses, it is called a bill. Done? Now, here in this house, all this majority later will be explained. When this idea gets approved by the members of this house, okay? That is, this idea when it is introduced, it's called a bill. When this bill is approved by this house, it's called, this bill is approved and passed to the next house. Okay, whichever house it would. Next, Rajya Sabha pe it goes. This stage pe, it is still called a bill. Now, this bill, which is approved by Lok Sabha, is now, it can either be rejected by Rajya Sabha or it can be approved. Let's say it got approved even in Rajya Sabha. Now it enters into the President's hand. The bill passed by both Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, which is now in the President's hand, he could either accept, reject, or do multiple things that we'll discuss later. Let's say he signs that bill. Okay? Then, once this bill receives the signature of the President, this becomes an act. Write it down with pictures, symbols, anything, but it should be easier for you to understand even if you read it after 2 months. Okay? Without the President's signature or assent, this bill will remain a bill only. When anything is in bill stage, it cannot be brought into effect, meaning it will not be applied. Only when a bill has got the assent or when it has received the signature of the President, it becomes an act. Understanding? Only when it has become an act can it be implied to the entire country, without which it cannot be applied. Understood? Yes or no? Okay. So this we are doing our country, head of our country or our sovereign is doing. Okay. Here, the same act was passed to this country, but by this head of state. Did you understand? Here the President signed the bill. It became an act. So which means whatever this act is, that is applicable to whole of India. But here, for the first time in 1773, a certain regulations was to be put to this country, this piece of land called India. But that was signed by this head of state, meaning they were indirectly controlling India. Okay? Whenever anyone passes an act, that implies they are in the position to rule or tell what should be done here. So the very first act that was put into our place by the British was in 1773 by the name Regulating Act. I write that down. Multiple questions will be there on Regulating Act, but the details of the act will be discussed for you in history in details. Clear? This, I told you, from the period of 1773, they were indirectly dating. Over the course of events, things change and your acts will keep on coming. The British will keep on putting acts in the form of regulating act, Quits India Act. Okay, multiple acts will come in between. Up until 1858, one very important act comes. That is Good Governance Act. According to that, India is now directly under British control, or India is directly under British paramountcy or British control or British suzerainty. Meaning they now legally claimed this particular piece of land belongs to them. This particular terminology is called as colonizing. This became a colony. Your Europe became a colonizer. Okay. Still today in modern slangs, if you see colonizer mentality, you have. Meaning trying to take advantage of someone so that it will benefit you. Okay. So India became a colony. They became colonizers. Association of these two is your ideology called mercantilism or imperialism. That will again be explained to you in detail in a post independence. That is history. Quite clear up until here. 1858 passage was Good Governance Act, under which India now directly came under your British control. The same period of time, one event happened here. 1857, that was the first Indian independence, Sepoy Mutiny. Okay. 1857 led to first Indian independence or Sepoy Mutiny, meaning for the first time on a larger scale. I'm not telling first time people revolted against the British. People have been revolting against British government since times immemorial from 1600s itself. But on a larger scale, it started from year 1857. That is, from now onwards, constantly there will be fights from the Indian side telling the British, okay, don't do this, don't do that, we are going to, come against you and all those things. So basically, the concept of nationalism began. Now, here is where something I'll teach you. Be it with respect to your interview or mains. When you understand something, you will be able to, again, I've told you, majority time when you start writing answer, you struggle with either the introduction or you get stuck with the conclusion. Again, I really cannot write some irrelevant crap. What was the concept that I told you? This Britain trying to control India was called as? What is it? The concept of India trying to be controlled by Britain for its good. What is it called as? I just hear some noises. What is it? Okay, imperialism, or basically the same terminology that I said. Colonization, imperialism, mercantilism. All three are bad things if you are trying to take one. Okay, one ka benefit to benefit you. Nationalism emerged in the land of India, which was trying to fight colonialism, imperialism, mercantilism. This serves as your introduction, conclusion, or in the body. When they ask, interview they ask, why of all the time only here it came? That is, the fight started 1857. This is what you think. Sir, because the concept of nationalism had crept into the nooks and corners. Nationalism began to spread seeds to break colonialism, imperialism, mercantilism. Understanding? Write that down. And when you write these things down, put it in a quote or put it in a box, and then next to it, write a note for yourself as to where to use this. Okay? Your notes should be your guide until the end of exam. Clear up until here? Any doubts?
What is the difference between like patriotism and nationalism? Like, was it there in that?
What is it?
Patriotism.
Okay.
It is different from nationalism.
Patriotism is love for your country. Nationalism is, see, if India didn't have that concept of India itself. Now that is again very much debatable concept, but for the first time, we all believe that the length and breadth of so-called India, all this came together with a united spirit. But this came with a united spirit for one common reason. That was the common enemy. From north to south, west to east, everyone hated this common enemy, that is British. So they formed themselves into one thing called as a union, India, to hate on one common enemy. That is nationalism. Okay. Let's say patriotism, already established now, presently. When you say, I love my country, you have an established country and you love your country. That is patriotism. Here you are still at the stage of extending your country. Nationalism. Simpler words. Understood? Clear up and clear anything? Any doubts? Shall we continue? When we started fighting back against, we didn't ask them to leave our country and go back. As and when time progressed. See, now when we come to the period of 1900s. When we came to the period of 1900s, 1905 is the Bengal split. Write this down and tell you about this. Partition of Bengal. Okay. At this period of 1905, okay, whatever I said, this nationalism in the entire country, okay, it was very much strong and very much deep rooted in this area of whatever we call Bengal. Not today's Bengal. Back then, Bengal, Bangladesh, okay, was a very big area. That Bengal. This area nationalism was at the peak, or this place was considered as nerve center of nationalism. Your Raja Ram Mohan Roy, okay, and all the associated people, your Henry Valerian, Tizerian movement, everything was happening here. So basically, there was a very much strong hold of nationalists. We kept speaking about nationalism. Now we speak about nationalists, meaning our country ka betterment. Now that didn't mean that they are telling the British to leave and go, because there were certain nationalists who felt that the British are here in India to do good for Indians, but they just didn't know how. Understanding? There were two sections of nationalists. One who believed British are here to do good for India, but don't know how. Another who believed that no, they are bad, they are the bad seed and bad evil, they should be picked and thrown out. Understanding? Now this folks, this so-called the good guys who think that British are good guys, they are here to do good, they thought we have to tell them, okay, what is that India wants, then they'll do it for us. Understanding? So they used to send your prayer, petition, protest, and all these things to your British telling, do this for India. But for both of them, it took a real beating and real time to understand that this so-called was a master evil. So during this period of 1905, when they partitioned Bengal, one main reason, it was the nerve center of nationalism. They wanted to cut nationalism in any forms and ways. Okay, these both were diversified. Okay, both are nationalists, both want better for India, but one believes British is good, one believes British is bad. Both of them become united after certain events. Okay, one event starts in 1915. These three events changed the course of history. So much so that now the nationalists don't believe they are good, they are bad. No, they believe that British, no dude, you gotta go. So both of them got united on certain events that happened in history. 1915 was entry of Gandhi into Indian soil, or you can say re-entry of Gandhi into Indian soil. He had been to South Africa. 1919 was one important event. Jallianwala Bagh massacre. What these are, everything history pe detailedly they'll explain. As of now, because I need the context for polity, we are discussing. Jallianwala Bagh massacre plus one cruelest act ever. A Rowlatt Act. 1920 launch of NCM or non-cooperation movement. We need these dates. Clear up until here, any doubts? So now all our nationalists after this are of the assumption this concept of British here to do good, nope, not can do. They are not there for any good things. The same ones who believe British are bad, yes, it is established as bad, but they also thought the British should be kicked out. This is where the good and bad was merged, and then they decided the British, whether we like it or not, this thing is sticking to us. This is like a parasite stuck to us. We have to remove it, but we cannot remove it by force. Because anytime we have used force on us, they have almost obliterated us. Okay, that is what all are there in your history you will see. Each time we have used force, they have almost eliminated the army. So this from now onwards, that is 1920 onwards, we change our strategy. We, that is we means nationalists. Our nationalism now started getting very smarter and smarter. Smarter enough to outpower your British. So much so that we started, see, first and foremost, we cannot go against them in power, money, force, any such thing because they are superior to us. What we start doing is we take back the power by getting involved. If they are not going to leave this country and go, then we will make sure we will be inside this and make sure we will give the country what it wants. They had something called as today you have Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, right? They had councils back then, provincial councils, legislative councils. Okay, when they had councils like this, the nationalists started asking, give us the position in the seat. And they started protesting for that. Who? Nationalists. This Britain or this folks, they are even more smarter. They used to give us portfolios which had no power or which had no money in that field. Or they gave us important positions, but they didn't give us money. So they gave us all the responsibility roles, but without giving money. So when you don't get money and when you just get responsibility, all you see is your own people will come at you, yell on you, telling, okay, let's say a drought has come in my place. Okay, this particular place where a drought has come, they will go to the head of that particular place. Let's say who's an Indian, because these people ask, now I want a seat at the table. Let's say this particular place, so let this Indian guy is become name. But this guy is given no money to do anything for his constituents. So these people of this area, they come crying to him, Indian, he'll understand our own plight. So drought has happened, all our livestock is dead, all our produce is dead, what should we do now? And they are telling us to pay tax, what to do? And they'll ask us, give us some relief. He wants to, but he is not given the money by your British. Because important portfolios, let's say finance, will always be under this British care. So we were given this responsibility without giving him finance. So it was equivalent to they coming, scolding, yelling, crying, and these people feeling bad and going off. This was what given to us at first. Slowly we started asking for more. Fine, you have given this, no? Then give this kind at least to 2 people. Initially only 1 guy you give. At least this kind of post increase to 2 or 3 more guys. We first asked for this. Because this itself they never gave us, because they said Indian has no right to sit on the same grounds or a level with the British. Slowly we asked this. When we asked this, when they granted, next we started asking for more seats of this. Once they gave this, then we started asking for powerful portfolios. Okay, meaning we went on, why you are not giving me finance? Give me finance. Okay, so our fights were focused on this. When there was a stage where we did get this, well, not technically finance, but a position where we could get finance. That time we were doing better in these cases. By the period of 1937, we were actually doing more good than they could imagine. This time, this particular section of people could see what India would be if this was eliminated. So slowly, as and when we started on asking for power, okay? I told you we started with this, right? So on, we kept increasing our demands to something happened. 1927 is your Simon Commission. Write it down. Whatever I tell, do not just listen to it like a story. Write it down for you to understand it like that. You will see the importance of it as and when the classes keep approaching. Clear? The Simon Commission was sent by the British to India to see whether India needed any constitutional reforms. That is, should we give them any more additions, any more autonomy, any more power should we give? This was a 7-member body. That is, in this commission, there were 7 members to be as chairman. All the 7 members were white or Britain guys. India criticized this, telling, so you're coming to India, you are going to dictate the future of India, and there is not a single person who is of Indian nature. Meaning, look at it, in 1773, they were dictating from somewhere else. From 1773 to 1927, it almost took us these many years to question, how are you dictating us without any one of us in the picture? Understanding the timeline? So 1927, they did something called Simon Commission. We repelled back by telling there is not a single Indian to decide the future of India. We will not agree to any of this Simon Commission. When this protest was did, it became a pan-India movement because all the youth were wrapped in. When the youth were wrapped in, one more thing, this person was your Nehru and Subhash Chandra Bose were the ones who made anti-Simon Commission a huge hit. Okay, because the youth were made to question. So much so that the head of the chairman, this committee, wherever it came, they held placards, okay, which if you go to your Google and search, you will still find it. You will see people holding placards, go back Simon. Okay, your anti-Simon Commission was a huge hit. Wherever they went, they were greeted with the placards. It became a huge embarrassment for your British. So much so that they challenged in a fit of rage to India. You guys know only to speak. If you have the capability, come up with a constitution and show. And they used multiple more bad words, bad things, slangs, everything. Throughout history, if you see, they are very much prone to use these things. 1942, we had severe famine. Officials from here kept asking, at the same period of time was your World War II. People kept asking, India needs some financial aid because almost a quarter of population is dying. That point of time, the Prime Minister being your Winston Churchill, the so-called dude response, if people are dying there because of that, then why is Gandhi not dead? They didn't care about the people, they didn't care about anything that happening. They only cared about one thing, that is their colonizer mentality, that is to strengthen their hold in India, but it was already breaking. Nehru, that is your Jawaharlal Nehru, starts coming into forefront because he made Simon Commission a huge hit. Now the youth got completely roped in. And when they told this, you guys cannot do that, this, we took only one thing out of all their abuse. If possible, do a constitution and show. For the first time, we took it up as a challenge. They didn't issue a challenge, but we took what we wanted and converted by telling British told us to do this, so we are going to do this. 1928, for the first time, we decided to frame something called a constitution or something called as Nehru Report. This Nehru Report is not a Jawaharlal Nehru ka, it is his dad ka. Okay, the big Nehru. So Motilal Nehru, Nehru Report came into picture. It was not accepted eventually. I'll tell you, I'll introduce two terminologies which are very important and which will lead the course. One of the thing about our Nehru report was, first and foremost thing, India's relationship with Britain. The older folks, Motilal Nehru and Gandhi and multiple other people, let's just consider them older folks. They wanted something called as dominion status. Okay, the older folks. The younger folks, Jawaharlal Nehru, Subhash Chandra Bose, wanted something called as complete independence. Write this down. Understanding? I will say what is dominion status. India. This block is India. According to dominion status, whatever happens within India, I will look after that. But that I is by Indians. Anyone who will be in power, in charge, everything, finance, power, okay? Everything that has to deal within India, Indians will take. External affairs, that is India's dealing with another country, or to do with, for example, war kind of situations. Outside India matters which involves India and other countries, that British will take. Simpler terms to understand. Inside India, Indians will take care. Outside India, British will take care. This itself was a huge ask at that point of time. They were not even ready to consider this concept. But this was the concept they put forth. That is, this dominion status was put forth. The older folks wanted this. Because see, British were either way not going to give us anything. Right? But we still wanted to ask. The older folks said, see, immediately, the reason they wanted this was, they told, if we directly ask for complete independence, they will not give at all. What if by chance if they agree for this? Right? With that motive, the older folks wanted dominion. The younger folks, such as your Jawaharlal Nehru, Subhash Chandra Bose, and all said that they have no right to decide what the future of India is. They do not have any goodwill of India. We need complete independence. Okay? Now, we have this another sentence there. He's a master diplomat. Okay? This side people are asking dominion status. This side people are asking complete independence. See how this guy skillfully handles the situation. He tells, let's do one thing. In the Nehru report, they are going to send it to British now. First, let them see one more thing. You are going to be in this position, the diplomat position. This is where we call a master diplomat. This is what you will deal with. Either of the section you lose support, it will be detrimental to nationalism. We cannot have breaks in this. We need them united. Both of their demands should be met at the same point of time. Our end goal should be achieved. For you, usually this two will be, one side will be the people you deal with, another will be the politicians that you will deal with. You are not the person, you will only favor one person. You need both. And at the end of the day, you have to get your work done. That is where you are acting as diplomat. This guy is the master of it. This people asking complete dominion status, this people are asking complete independence. So now he comes up in the Nehru report. He tells this. How about we give them a timeline? Dominion status. Now we are going to tell, Gandhi tells us idea, we are going to send this Nehru report. In this Nehru report, we are going to ask for dominion status. But they have to agree to that concept within 2 years. The son Nehru, that is Jawaharlal Nehru, said, no, 2 years is long time, let's just put 1 year. Oh, fine, agree. 1 year. We are going to send Nehru report with multiple other things we had asked. Within 1 year, if they agree to this Nehru report, then we will ask for dominion status. If 1 year, 1 day, if it crosses and still they haven't accepted, then we will ask for complete independence. Understand? So somewhere both of them are satisfied. This is what you will be dealing with on a daily basis. And no one, see, you might think, ha, Labasna pe I'll go, they will teach me how to be a diplomat. No, they don't teach you how to be a diplomat. They'll give you a bunch more subjects to study and pass. What you learn is here. Because there you have to display your skills. Not every diplomat is a master diplomat. Not every bureaucrat is a diplomat. If you have to be a diplomat, see the look into the history, how they held and navigated the situation. Both these were satisfied. At the end of the day, what does India want? Independence. Indians should be free, or Indians should have India. Fine. This was sent. Both of them knew they will not agree. Okay, we sent this in 1928. We sat in preparation of this report. We were to give them 1 year. British laughed. When we sent the so-called dominion status, they laughed. Do they even think that we are going to give them that? How are they going to do it? And they were also wanting this. All these factions was wanting them to reject. They knew they will reject because one more event will. 1929, they waited. 1 year. They said 1 year timeline, no? They waited. Peacefully, they waited. They didn't do anything. In that 1 year, British mocked us, ridiculed us, slandered us, like your 1 year preparation. You're still in preparation, but by this time, your relatives have made an assumption. This person will not clear, this person will clear, this ridicule, that ridicule. You will face all the ridicules. They waited patiently. Patience is the key. They waited patiently. 1930, January 26th. Nothing happened. Their timeline expired. This day, January 26, 1930, Jawaharlal Nehru declared, we are now going to ask only for complete independence, and this day is called as Purna Swaraj. January 26th, what else is the speciality of that day? Why? Because of this. Another skill of this guy, when he sent this Nehru report itself, Be it back then or be it now or be it any 100 years later, you cannot simply start fight against a government because they will term you as coup, meaning you're trying to topple the government, so they will use extreme force to remove that. But this guy, whatever he did, he never fell into this category. He told, and he sent the Nehru report on 1 year you will have to agree to this concept of dominion status. If you do not agree to this in within 1 year, I will use this. That is, I will ask for complete independence. Alongside that, I will start for CDM, Civil Disobedience Movement. That is, he would notify it in such a way that if people use force on them, it would be like as if they are forcing the British is fighting against unarmed people. Whichever way the British will retaliate, the entire world media is watching. Everywhere British will look like the bad guy. Okay. So we started civil disobedience movement. Each time we launched a movement. First we launched NCM, next we launched CDM. Each time we kept launching. Each time the power of India kept increasing. The power of Britain kept decreasing. The bargaining power kept increasing for India. Okay, so much so that when did they ask for dominion status? When? 1928. 1940. They sent us. Okay, we'll agree for dominion status. 1940, when they sent us, it is called as August offer. Write this down. Okay. Here, they sent us something called as August offer, which said, I will agree to dominion status. Gandhi, Nehru all ridiculed that and now laughed. 1928, we bared that embarrassment where they ridiculed us. Now we ridiculed. And they claim, and the statement is what they say, it is dead as a doornail. That offer is like a post-dated check. What am I supposed to do with it? I don't want it. And also, your Nehru report where they asked for something called as Constituent Assembly. Meaning, your Indians are asking this from the British. They are asking, you have to set up something called as Constituent Assembly, where a particular section of members, we will go in and we will form a constitution for free. Everyone laughed and ridiculed when we sent this offer in 1920, telling, okay, let me get this straight. So you are asking the British who are holding on to you, who don't want to leave you. To that people you are asking, set up a constituent assembly, which will form a constitution, which will be used for free India. The British laughed, why are we going to free India? But the same people in 1940 now are telling, I am okay for dominion status. I will set up a constituent assembly, which will have mainly Indians. Do you look at the difference between a decade, 1928 to 1940, so almost 10 years. Just in this 10 years, you see the difference. This is what I said. The power of India kept increasing, bargaining power. The bargaining power of British kept decreasing. They asked, August offer pay, they asked, we will agree to the concept of Constituent Assembly. Prelims question this is. The idea of Constituent Assembly was first agreed in which offer? It was August offer. Clear up until here, any doubts? Any you understand? Indians took offense to August offer and rejected it for this. Yeah, we are okay with you setting up Constituent Assembly, but you said mainly Indians, meaning there will be Indians plus Britishers. How are you, that is British, going to decide for what is going to be a free India? That is, we have put the concept in our head as well as their head that India is going to be free. That is inevitable. For that, we are going to form constitution. For that, we need specified set of people. That is what your Constituent Assembly is going to do. So even they have agreed to that idea, but they said mainly Indians. Meaning, why will British be involved? This we took offense. We rejected. We also took, because it's a dominion status. We were past 10 years back. So 1940 August offer we rejected. 1942 they sent another offer. See, they are now at our mercy. This is the period of Second World War. They are dying and begging for our support. India gave one clean, clear statement. Your world was partitioned into two parts. One side, your USA, Britain, France, and all these guys are fighting. Another side is your Japan. Okay, as of now, just keep Japan, Germany, everyone will come in. Okay, Japan, Germany, all these guys are there. One of the key players in this fight is India. Both of them wanted the support of India. This Britain, without even asking India, it told, India is supporting us. India gave a clear statement. We will not support anyone when we ourselves are in shackles. When we ourselves are tied, we will not support. You remove our shackles, that is, give independence, then we will support. So now this guy is pressurizing this guy, do something, but they should support us in the war. That is why they kept coming down to us telling 1940 August offer, we will give dominion status. We rejected it. 1942, again they gave one more offer in the name of Cripps Mission. 1942 Cripps Mission. Okay. In this, they said, fine, we will create one Constituent Assembly, which will be wholly Indians. See the difference? How their bargaining power is completely reducing. Okay. And they said, dominion, even in constitution, said dominion status, but it's like all the other things except Governor General, external affairs and finance, except that we rest all with Indians. We got so pissed off, we rejected it and we launched Quit India Mission, 1942. That is, outright we said British has to get out of India. There is no other choice now. That is the slogan, Quit India. Okay. Again, they came for us. 1946 Cabinet Mission. Once we kept begging us, now they are begging us. Okay, in which they agreed and they set up a Constituent Assembly. Be it in history or polity, these two topics are interlapping points. Okay, that is your Constituent Assembly feature, which means it is a very easy zone to get it in prelims to confuse you. Constituent Assembly was set in cabinet mission, but when was the idea of Constituent Assembly accepted? August offer. These two are always made to be confusing. Write it down where you will get confused. Cabinet mission 1946. Set up and agreed for a Constituent Assembly. But the concept of Constituent Assembly idea was accepted in 1940 August offer, not in 1946. 1946 we set it up. When you write down in your notes, you write down in a bracket, at least very initially. It is very easier to get confused with August offer 1940. When you read that, you are very less likely to commit that mistake.
They agreed that okay, we set the Constituent Assembly.
1940? Okay.
So like they agreed like Constituent Assembly can be with only aliens, right?
Yes. Clear up until here? 1946, they set it up. 1940, idea accepted. 1942, wholly against. 1946, set up. Constituent Assembly. Clear on this? Prelims question, multiple times people go wrong here. These 3 years, write it down in a very easier way for you to understand. Fine? This Constituent Assembly was set up. Now, the issue with our Constituent Assembly is at that point of time, India was divided into provinces, princely state, chief commissioner provinces. Here, basically, you just need to know 2 things. Provinces, princely states. Provinces mean they were directly under your British control. Let me divide it. This is India. Okay, wherever I keep it as P, it means provinces. 2 P, princely states. Basically, all it means is wherever it is a province, that area of complete control was only British. Understanding? Direct control. So people saw the control, like if they have to go to their superior, it is a British government. But when you see this PP, that princely states, it means when this particular, let's say a common citizen is having an issue, he has to go to his superior to complain with. Here there will be a local prince. Okay? But this prince had no authority, no finance, nothing. So basically he was made into a puppet because he had to listen to the British. Understanding? So basically they just had a title associated with their name, nothing else. So there were something called as provinces and princely states. For your understanding, I'm telling you, says this clear. So in our Constituent Assembly, which was for the whole of India, at that point of time we also had partition and all. We had to make sure we involved the provinces also, princely states also. So from now onwards, Constituent Assemblies understand it like now, for example, Parliament is there, Lok Sabha elections happened, particular number of seats were there, 543 seats. Okay, the seats were divided. So similarly, assume it like this. Let's say 543 seats are there, means somewhere around 90 odd seats were given to princely states. From this area, you can come. Okay, that is from this area, you can pick one guy, and that guy will be put into the Constituent Assembly. Okay. One main thing is this is a Constituent Assembly. See, first and foremost, we couldn't conduct any elections in the period of 1946 because still we are under your British. Now, when this Constituent Assembly had to be done, the people who will sit here, okay, were all elected by already elected officials. Meaning, elections were conducted even during a British period of time. Okay, Indians and all were there. By period of 1937, they conducted one election. In that election, where each constituency ka one Indian would be there, na? Those people, whoever was elected, those people further elected some other people to go and work in this Constituent Assembly. So, Constituent Assembly is an indirect representation. Directly, people didn't vote, but people voted some people, that people voted this people. One of the criticism for our constitution is that this Constituent Assembly you're calling as people representation will and all, but people only didn't vote, is what other people criticize. But we tell at that point of time, we did what we could. Understanding that point of time, we couldn't conduct elections because British were not allowing. First thing, second thing, then they said we don't have money. So in what we could do, we had to do this. Elected representatives voted and elected some other people from the same constituencies, okay, to come and sit in Constituent Assembly. Now, by this some other people, I mean, for example, Ambedkar was the one speaking for all of depressed class people. Okay, there were even women representatives to speak for women issues. So largely they were elected, okay, based on issues where they could represent. The voting in general, okay, was in 3 categories: Muslim, general, Sikh. Meaning, they kept 3 categories. Largely, it was this category: Hindu, other whichever category is left out, and this 2 will all fall under general. Meaning, you're giving reservation. You'll understand that term, no? Reservation. So, this Constituent Assembly largely had 3 factors: Muslim, general, Sikh. The reason we kept Muslim, Sikh, one more thing is we were also at that period of time of partition. Okay, majority chunk of these 2, your northwest, they didn't want to give up northwest because their section is completely focused there. Muslims again, your partition part they created, and that itself was a feeling that they are underrepresented. So for that reason, we have 3 categories: Muslim, general, Sikh. Don't dwell much, write it down, further I'll clear when we get in. There were 3 categories: Muslim, general, Sikh. Okay. The voting was through proportional representation. Don't bother what is proportional representation. Further, you have an entire chapter only on that. Okay. As of now, we just have to know voting was through proportional representation. Okay. Now people have went in and said, understanding the period of time is 1946. This is the best I can draw chairs. All Indians, Constituent Assembly, completely Indians. One more prelims question. Also, women candidates were there. Okay, who went further in the debate? Clear? Constituent Assembly created 1946 is the period of time. No. Clear? Now, what is to happen was they passed India Independence Act 1947, meaning India will be free. Write this down. Clear? According to which it said, India is free on. What else is the speciality of this day? August 15th. Why? Because India Independence Act said that August 15th, India was going to be free of British control. Clear up until here? But we just sat into the Constituent Assembly now. All our important people who are to run the country are all sitting here to form the constitution. We cannot multitask. We cannot run the country daily also. We cannot do this work also. So, the Indians came up with one thing. They said, at that point of time, the Governor General, okay, the Governor General was Lord Mountbatten. Alright, same period of time, India got partitioned. 1947, India got freedom. 1946, Constituent Assembly is in place. We have just begun the work of starting the constitution, whatever constitution that we're going to speak on everything. We've sat for that, we can't hurry that, it is a big task. 1947, they said India is free. So basically, it didn't tell India is free, it said do whatever you want, we are going off. For any country, okay, just right after war, the country needs a lot of restructuring. So one side we are facing with war crisis. Second side we are run out of complete financials. And now the British had the audacity to ask us, you give us money for the loss you created. British is asking India to give British money because of the loss we created for the British. Apparently God knows what was that loss. Either way. And we have just got independence. We have to form constitution for our country. At the same point from they're telling we are leaving. We need a central authority just so that India can be run. And it is the right war phase. All the important leaders are sitting here. So, 19% Governor General at that point of time was Lord Mountbatten. We came up with one plan and we said, we will take one thing, dominion status. Here, do not be confused, be very clear. The dominion status concept before 1947 and after 1947 is different. We said, see, all our important leaders are involved in Constituent Assembly. We need one central authority to look after India when it comes to war, because just now war has ended. What is another? And that too, we had threat of attack from Japan still. So, we asked this Mountbatten, right? You continue as the Governor General, but only up until we finish our constitution work. It is clear that this guy also will leave. It is clear for them also, it's clear for us also. But we need one person to be in charge until we finish our work. This in no way means India is now under the control of British, no such thing. Just this one person, okay, will make sure he'll be there, like merely for administrative purposes. Assume it like that. This dominion status is not what the earlier dominion status we discussed. Okay, here he is holding this post temporary. Why all our important leaders are here. Understood? This is important, right on. We did take dominion status after 1947. Why? Right on that. Lord Mountbatten. Clear up until here? Any doubts? Anything you don't understand? We'll continue. Now, when we start in this Constituent Assembly, I told you one thing. If something has to be applicable to all of India, then what it should become? Excellent. It should become an act. Yes. But we didn't have a parliament. Right? The next close thing we had to a parliament was Constituent Assembly. So, this Constituent Assembly had two tasks in front of it. One, to prepare constitution. I can write this, you cannot write this. No short forms, no slangs, no SMS languages. Okay, that relates rewriting. This Constituent Assembly's original idea was just to prepare constitution. But because now this British left at a very sooner time than we anticipated, we needed some laws to be, if you have to run the country, then uniform laws you have to make. There is no parliament to make a law. Okay. The next closest thing we had to a parliament was Constituent Assembly. So, the same Constituent Assembly which was there to prepare constitution was now going to make legislative laws also. This is the prelims question. The Constituent Assembly served as both a constitution maker as well as legislative law-making body. In a way, if you look at it, this you will write it. You can use this statement in your conclusions. Constituent Assembly served as the parliament for, or first parliament for free and independent India. Write that statement. Constituent Assembly served as a first parliament for free and independent India. The whole point of a parliament is making laws. Here, if Constituent Assembly is making laws, then it's equivalent to call it like a parliament. Clear? Any doubts up until here? Anything you don't understand? Yeah.
Writing constitution itself means creating legislative laws, right? What these
No. Today you have a constitution already planned, prepared, but still everyday laws have to be made. As in, to run a country, laws are made. That will not go into constitution. This is a one-time thing for generations to come. That laws will be for example, let's say the law with respect to agriculture. Right now, one example I'll give. Now here we have to make a constitution as to what kind of country India should be and all. Second, 1947 period of time, British has left. Okay, if British has left, which means Indians don't have to pay that much alarming amount of taxes. So now your Indian Parliament, that is your Constituent Assembly, can pass a law which states that if anyone has, lost their crops due to drought, that point of time we had famine also. Drought, they don't have to pay tax. This they had to give. But if they have to give that, we don't have one parliament. And this particular rule will not be put into constitution. This will be only for the country and for that period of time. So that is legislative laws. This is totally different, that is totally different. One more thing, understand it. People have this one confusion. In other advanced class, they asked me this question. whatever laws that the parliament makes, even today, those will not be put into constitution. People ask, ma'am, then where will it be put in? See, we just have laws. Like, for example, if you come into this class, let's say I make a rule of this particular class telling, okay, no one should eat in the class. This institution is not telling you that. As a faculty of this class for this time, I'm just telling you that. Okay, this is our rules, that's it, of this class. Similarly, laws are kept in a statute book, that's it. The laws today put, tomorrow next government can come and remove it. The next coming government can remove that law. Understanding? First, we had a housing scheme called as Indira Awas Yojana. This current government came and changed it into something else. PM Awas Yojana. Understanding? These are all just laws, which means today it will be there, tomorrow it can be removed off. By the same party or by next coming party or the next government, anyone. But whatever we are saying, constitution, whatever we prepared in 1949, still we have the things even in 2024 and even hopefully by 2059, 2069 for years to come. This constitution means it is just a set of rules as to how India will be. Understanding? Laws, constitution, very massively different topic. Clear? Understood or not?
So to repeat that question,
What?
where are those laws?
Statute book, means statute book. That is, we have a huge government orders. And we do not technically have a physical book where we keep putting that laws. There is no such thing. GO, government order. See, per day or per year pay, we make more than 50-60 laws.